usually know what's going on, know what their company is, what their company's working for. So it's not like you have to train them on what the company does, right? They've been there. They know kind of basically what the company's doing. And it's a good, like you said, it's a good contact that they know. And look, they can even tell their contact, their Aunt Susie, that, hey, by the way, your nephew here gets a cut if you use our company, right? It's an added incentive. Why not? You can tell them, like, hey, if you use our company, I actually get a bonus, and they're helping their nephew out, whoever it might be, right? There's so many different ways to do it, but yeah, I think that's one of the waves of the future is turning your company's employees into a sales force.
Your business's success depends on relationships with customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with stakeholders. What do they all have in common? They're all human. Because no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Welcome to the Human Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Karl Pontau. Each week, I'll bring you stories, insights, and practical advice from experts that you can apply to your growing company and daily life. This week, I'm excited to connect with Joe Mindak. Joe is a seasoned entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience building and scaling businesses across a wide range of industries. His entrepreneurial journey began right out of college when he founded a marketing company, which he grew into a multi-million-dollar enterprise over 2 decades before successfully exiting. A true serial entrepreneur, Joe has launched ventures in publishing, craft beer, wedding tech, and music festivals, always driven by creativity and a sharp eye for opportunity. He currently leads The Connective, a growing network of businesses that collaborate by sharing referrals and commissions. Since its launch, The Connective has expanded to more than 10 states and grown to over 300 members. To support the rapid growth of The Connective, Joe helped develop Nolodex, a platform designed to track and manage referrals. He now heads sales and marketing for Nolodex with a focus on expanding into networking groups, chambers of commerce, and co-working spaces. His 2 decades of marketing experience give him a unique advantage in reaching and engaging these audiences. Joe's relentless drive, innovative thinking, and deep entrepreneurial experience continue to fuel his ventures and inspire those who work with him. Congrats on your entrepreneurial journey, and welcome to the Human Connection Podcast.
Well, Carl, thanks so much for having me. I love, sounds like I've done a lot of stuff. I sound like I should be older than I am. And I love you say seasoned. My gray hair makes me look about 10 years older. So I feel seasoned. I feel seasoned.
Well, I'm really excited to have you on the show because as someone who loves making referrals and connections, it comes quite naturally to me. But I've noticed that a lot of companies struggle with building a referral program that actually works. So I was wondering if I would love to hear more about kind of your approach to helping companies build these referral programs and actually getting value from them. And how do you help people do that?
Yeah, I mean, we've put it all together, right? I think there's people out there like you and I have always been referring, connecting people, and always love to do that. Businesses, and someone told me the other day, about 20% more businesses now this year are offering referral programs. So it's all out there, right? People offer referral programs, but no one's put it all together under one roof, right? So I think the businesses like, oh, we have a referral program, but are they really getting it out and getting their people, whether it be their salespeople or whoever, out to these networking groups to tell people about the referral program, right? One thing to just have it, but how are people knowing that you have this referral program set up? Right. And I think they really got to go to their other employees, right? I think they're underutilizing all the employees they have. Everyone always just looks to the sales team. All right, Carl, we got a referral program. Go tell everyone about it, right? What about the person in accounting, right? My wife is in a big financial company. They have, I forget, 5 or 50,000 employees, whatever it is, huge company. Like they're not, and she supports the sales team, right? But the salespeople never ask her to go out and get leads and tell people to bring business in. And my wife's got 30 years on Wall Street, right? She's got people that are at Morgan Stanley and all these companies. She's got people that are high up that she could get an introduction to at those companies, but why would she, right? No one's offering her any incentive or a referral. So why aren't you, great, if you have a referral program, it should be for every employee, right? And I think that's where they fail, right? They just think that, Susie in accounting is not going to have any connections, right? Joe over in, in marketing is not going to have any connections. Those people know people too, but you got to put incentive, right? Why is somebody going to bring business into Carl, the owner, that's just going to make more money and go to his beach house on the weekend, and I'm slugging it out for him, right? So it's great to have a referral program, but offer it to everybody. And then we built a platform that can track all of that, right? And that's what we're really been looking at, putting it into companies to say, hey, have all your employees come on the platform and be able to send business to the company and get paid, get an incentive, get a bonus for doing that.
Yeah, I think it's there's a more than one facet of how this helps the company and the employees, because there's so many employees these days are not really happy with their current jobs, and they're not really feeling appreciated, and they're not really like as engaged as they could, and they often don't feel like the business and their interests are aligned.
Right.
And so I think one of the benefits of some of these programs, especially if they're implemented the way you suggested, with rewarding employees with an incentive to make referrals and to give them like a referral commission based on their contributions, is that it helps not only with their own financial situation and bring in more business for the company, but it also helps them feel like there's that when you win, I win. And it's not just only like the people at the top or like the shareholders that are getting value from my efforts. And that I can see how that element of the referral program, if implemented the way you suggested, which is like all the employees should have access to it and be part of it, helps people and the company make more money, but then also builds that sense of we, not that you versus I kind of dynamic that so many employees have with their companies they work for.
Right. And you want your company to succeed because you want to keep your job and keep working there. But now it's like, hey, I will help do that. I will help succeed. I want a little something for the effort as well. And why not pay them? Why not turn your entire company into a sales force? Right? You have 100 employees and you got 4 salespeople. Those other 96 people are top of funnel salespeople for you, because their college roommate is the head of marketing at a company now, right? Their cousin is the head of operations at some company, right? Whatever it is that you're selling, all those other 100 employees in your company are salespeople, because they can get you that meeting with that person, but they're not going to do it unless there's a little something in it for them. And this is the way to do that for them, right? Hey, everyone, open up your Rolodex, go through your LinkedIn, see who your contacts are, bring them to the company, and you'll get paid just like the other salespeople get paid. Maybe a little different split, whatever it is, but we will pay you, right? Why would I, if I still had my agency, I had 35, 40 people, I would turn them all into salespeople, right? They're not going to go out and knock on doors and do cold calls and whatever that is, but they just look through their Rolodex of people that they know and be like, oh, you know what? I could bring my cousin John in here. He's the head of something or other, and we're sell to that type of company, right? It's just so simple.
And it also, because there's one of the main benefits of these referral programs is that it's that trust transfer that happens because you're referring someone you already know and who trusts you. And so the cost of acquisition for that lead or that sale is a lot lower than if you're trying to get them through standard marketing channels where they have to go through the entire funnel and they're completely cold relationship when they first hear about you. So if you're thinking, oh, how do we how can we afford to do this? Well, it's like, well, you're going to be saving a lot of money on acquisition costs because the team members that are going out and doing it are bringing in people that already have some trust with them and therefore the business. And then also, if you equip the team correctly with the right, like, here's what we're looking for, and here's what you can say, kind of like some talking points, so that they're setting expectations properly, then it doesn't have to be a thing they're always, or like they have to block out necessarily time for or actively do. But if they're out at like a family gathering or out like for meeting friends and it comes up, they are already prepared, like, oh, I heard them say this, it means it may be a good sign that they're interested in what we're doing. Let me steer the conversation that way and bring it up in a natural way. So it's not like you're asking, like you said, to go knock on doors and cold call people, but if they're incentivized to make referrals, and you equip them properly with the right training and say, here's what to listen for, and they just kind of go about living their lives and happen to come across people, then it's not a whole lot of extra effort for them to make those referrals and get rewarded for it. But then if people do want to go out and be more active, like they're already networking a lot in like local like chambers or whatever, then they're more likely to be successful in those efforts than if you didn't prepare them and didn't incentivize them. So there's like, I'm hard pressed to think of a downside to doing it this way. It's just a matter of investing in a little bit of like in the setup, but it's not a huge investment to get a really big ROI from it.
Right. Yeah. Just give them a couple tools. They usually know what's going on, know what their company is, what their company's working for. So it's not like you have to train them on what the company does, right? They've been there. They know kind of basically what the company's doing. And it's a good, like you said, it's a good contact that they know. And look, they can even tell their contact, their Aunt Susie, that, hey, you know, by the way, you know, your nephew here gets a cut if you use our company, right? It's an added incentive. Why not? You can tell them like, hey, if you use our company, I actually get a bonus, and they're helping their nephew out, whoever it might be, right? There's so many different ways to do it, but yeah, I think that's one of the waves of the future is turning your company's employees into a sales force. Why not? It's pretty simple.
Yeah, and I think it's something that, like you said, that more companies are trying to do this because they're realizing that the cold outreach and the really like automated impersonal marketing isn't as effective anymore, and because there's so many other people doing it, but the companies haven't been empowering their employees in this way before, or at least not nearly as much. So this is a more differentiated way of bringing in people than what a lot of their competitors are doing. But it does seem like, I mean, to us, it seems like a no-brainer, but when you've talked with people about how to set these up, what are some of the common like roadblocks or stumbling blocks that when they're first trying to set this up that they come across, and how can they get past those initial kind of bottlenecks and get some inertia for these initiatives in their company? Because it's, whenever you propose something new or try and do something different, there's always going to be some sort of pushback. But what are some of like the easy first steps people can make to build this sort of program or implement something like this at their company?
Yeah, I think, look, like anything, when you're trying to shift an entire paradigm of how things have been going, it's going to take a little time for people to get used to a new way of doing things. Oh, we're going to pay our employees, or we're going to pay. We have networking groups that want to sign up, and they're like, oh wait, we have to tell all our members that they have to pay referral fees now. It's just a different way to do it. So they're kind of hesitant to be like, wait, nobody signed up for this, right? Nobody signed up for that. So yeah, I think for us, our whole mantra is connectors get paid. So if you want to make connections, you're already out there making connections, you should be getting paid for those. And they got to get that to the employees too. If they have employees, hey, look, if you can make a connection, we're willing to pay you. Right now, they have to figure out internally how that works. Is that going to upset the sales team to say, wait a second, we're the sales team over here. Why is Susie in accounting doing sales now? It's not. And you have to figure out with the sales team, right? Because again, they're just making that top of funnel introduction. So Susie's going to introduce her cousin to Sally in sales, whatever, and then she'll take it from there. Then it has to be the sales manager, the owner, figuring out, okay, what does that split look like? Right? Is it 10% typically for an introduction? So now the Sally gets 7% and Susie gets 3% because she made the introduction. So you got to figure it out. Or is it on top of that? Right? So it's just I think each company's got to look at their margins and what they could give away. If you're a high profit margin company, yeah, if Susie could get you in the door, throw over 5% for doing that, great. But if it's tight margins, if you're at a 15% profit margin, you can't give Sally 10% and Susie 5% because then you might as well not sell anything, right? So I think that's the main thing. Is just how do you work it out numbers wise to have now one more person in the mix that needs to get commission on it, right? Because they're not going to, they're going to bring the person in, but they're not going to close the deal, right? The salesperson's going to do that, or the owner. Look, if it's the owner, great. You don't have a sales team. When I had my agency, I was pretty much the sale. I had a couple salespeople here and there, but pretty much it was me selling. So happy to give the employees any commission that was worthwhile because I'm the one closing the deal. So there's no additional. So I think that's really the one thing that people got to figure out is how much can they give away for doing that.
Yeah, it makes sense because I think there's the, and I think it's some of our companies are already looking at like their financials, how they can get manage like the margins with all the what's going on in the economy these days. So I think it's and also I'll circle back on a point you mentioned about making sure you're communicating with the like existing sales team and marketing, and just making sure that there's like clear understanding of how this is going to improve what they're already trying to do and make it easier for the salespeople, because they would probably have to do fewer cold calls and outreach on them on their own, because their like meeting is going to be, or their like calendar is going to be filled with meetings from these referrals more than they'll have to be doing some of these other lead generation efforts that aren't as effective as referrals. And so I think there's one of the big challenges that you hinted at there was framing this change in a way that for each of the existing groups, so they all see it as a valuable addition to the way business is done, or valuable change to the way business is done, instead of a threat to what they're used to. Because I think people are going to default to, oh, this is a change thing, this might be scary for me or hurt me what I'm already doing that I'm used to. So if you approach it from the standpoint of, hey, sales team, I know you're all doing really well and you're working really hard, and we want to make sure that we want to help you all improve your close rates and not have to spend as much time cold calling, and be able to enjoy the actual like sales conversations that you like doing. So we're going to incentivize the rest of our employees to start sending you all referrals from their networks. And so the referral commission, or the commission structure, is going to change slightly in whatever way works financially. But then if you also let them know that since you're going to be closing more deals because you're going to be getting more trusted introductions rather than cold ones, even though it looks like you're going to be getting less of the split, there's going to be more things to be split up. So you're actually going to be making more money. That sort of reframe, I think, goes a long way to getting the sales team, which is probably likely to be the ones that feel the most threatened by this, on board, because they're going to realize, oh my gosh, I'm going to have spend less time dealing with cold calls and having more enjoyable conversations with people that are actually interested in buying, because they already have that trust transfer. I'm not having to spend as much time convincing people to buy because they're already coming in like, oh, I heard this is great. My friend told me all about this. What are my options? So I think it's that sort of messaging is key for getting this to work, because especially if the sales team starts digging in their heels, it's going to be just a nightmare.
Right. But look, it's better to get 70% of a $100,000 deal that closed that took less time because of a nice referral introduction, nice warm introduction, than 100% of no deal that Sally's not bringing to you or Susie's not bringing, right? Like it's, why? So I think it's just a little bit of a, putting that into the salespeople's heads and be like, listen, there's $100,000 deal here, right? Susie can get you into the company. You want 70% of that $10,000 commission, or do you want zero? Because if she's not getting a cut, then she's not going to make the introduction. Simple. And again, you're getting right to the head person. She knows the head of marketing. That's her cousin, her roommate, her whatever. She's getting you a meeting right with the person you want to talk to. All right, listen, you got to be stupid not to take that deal.
Yeah, I think it's the thing I always caution people when they're planning it or trying to convince people that sort of thing, is that your audience isn't coming at it necessarily from a logical standpoint. They're coming at it from oh, you want to change something, and then just like fear and survival kicks off, and they're not considering it largely. So if you don't spell it out super clearly, like, hey, this is going to help you, this change is helpful, and even though it might seem scary at first, when you understand exactly how it's going to work, you realize it's in your best interest, and addressing it from like the emotional concerns, because it's if you just have the purely logical like approach, you're going to often miss the fact that like their kind of fear response is kicking off, and they're no longer really listening to all the awesome details that actually help them, because they're just focused on the, oh my gosh, change, this is a threat. But this is really exciting. I think it's something that it's good to hear more of these more companies are figuring this stuff out, because it does work really well, and actually will build stronger communities around their business. It'll help with employee engagement and connection with the companies, because they're now feeling like it's more of a win-win situation for the employees and the business, which is unfortunately fairly rare these days. So thank you so much for connecting with me today, Joe. If you enjoyed this episode of the Human Connection podcast, please leave a review, and share it. If you'd like to connect with myself or Joe, check out the links in the show notes. And remember, no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Happy connecting.